Hello, welcome back to Isabel's Classroom. Today we are going to be doing a reading lesson, and I hope that you enjoy. And we're going to talk about something called fiction and non-fiction. So we'll be learning what fiction is and what non-fiction is. So when we read books, sometimes we read fiction books and sometimes we read non-fiction books. So as I'm teaching you about these things, I want you to be thinking, do I like to read fiction books more or do I like to read non-fiction books more? And then at the end, I'll ask you, which one do you like to read more? What's your preference? Okay. So we're going to talk about what a fiction book has and also what a non-fiction book has. So we're going to make kind of a mini T-chart here. We'll cut off that end. It's okay. Right. So in fiction books is always going to be a fake story. Always going to be fake. And even though sometimes in a fiction book the story may seem real, it's always a fake made up story. It's not real. Okay. But in non-fiction, it's going to be true and real things. Non-fiction are about real things. Maybe for your non-fiction book you read all about space. Maybe your fiction book was Pig takes a trip into space. So fiction is fake and non-fiction is real. Fiction also will tell you a story. So it's going to do a story. Non-fiction is going to give you information. It's about real things. And sometimes you'll hear the word informational instead of non-fiction. So non-fiction gives information. Whereas fiction tells you a story. In fiction, they usually use illustrations, which are drawings. In non-fiction, there's real photographs of things. In fiction, there's also a beginning, middle, and end. And they have characters, a setting, a solution. And so I'm just going to write B, beginning, N for middle, and E for end. So fiction books have a beginning, middle, and end. Where in non-fiction, you can read it in any order. So if you use the table of contents, let's say it's a book all about dogs and you just want to find out what dogs like to eat, you could just go to that page and look up what food dogs have, so you don't have to read about everything. So nonfiction, you can read it in any order. Okay, so we know that fiction is fake, tells a story, uses illustrations, has a beginning, middle, and end. There's one more important thing that you should know about fiction, is that it has characters, a setting, a solution. So I'm just going to draw pictures here because I don't have enough room. So this is for the characters. It also has a setting, which is the place the story takes place. So I'm going to draw a little house. It has a problem, so I'm going to put an X. And it also has a solution, so I'm going to make kind of a ball here. Everything worked out. So we have characters, the setting, problem, and solution. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go over some titles of some fiction and nonfiction books. And you're going to tell me, do you think that is a fiction book or a nonfiction book? Go ahead and take these. And then we'll vote on what we like more. Okay, so the first title is, I'm going to write it here. Our first title is Wallace the Pig Goes to Space. So do we think that this is fiction or nonfiction? Raise your hand if you think that this is fiction. Okay, so alright, raise your hand if you think it is nonfiction. Okay, if you said fiction, you are correct. This is a fiction title because Wallace the Pig is a story. Do pigs go to space? No, so it is fiction. It's a fake story. And it's going to have characters, problem, a setting, and a solution. Nice job. Okay, the next title of the book is a different color. All about dogs. All about dogs. So do I think that this is fiction or nonfiction? Okay, raise your hand if you think that this book would be a fiction book. Okay. Raise your hand if you think this book would be a nonfiction book. Okay, so if you said nonfiction, you are correct. Nice job. This is nonfiction. All About Dogs is going to give you real information about dogs and real facts about dogs, and All About Dogs is true, so that is nonfiction. Great job. Okay. Our next title is, let's see, 1 second. So purple cows, let's get boys, and the beach. Purple cows at the beach. So if you think that this is fiction, raise your hand. Okay, some of us do. If you think that this is non-fiction, raise your hand. Okay, this is fiction. Purple Cows at the Beach is a made-up story. It's not real. It's telling you a story. It has characters, a setting, it has a problem, and a solution. This is a fiction book. Okay. The next one is called, it's just called Space. So think, and this book will give you real information about space. Do you think that this is fiction or non-fiction? Okay, raise your hand if you think it is fiction. Okay, some of us do. Raise your hand if you think it is non-fiction. Okay, if you said non-fiction, you are correct. Space is non-fiction. It's going to give you real information about space. So there might be photographs. You could read this book in any order. Okay. Our next title is The Truth About Electricity. Nice. So the next title is The Truth About Electricity. So think of the word truth. Truth means real. So if you think that this book is fiction, raise your hand. Okay. If you think that this book is non-fiction, raise your hand. Alright, it is non-fiction. So this is a real this is a true book. It's going to give you real information about electricity. So this is non-fiction. Alright, we have one more title, and then we're going to vote on what we like to read, fiction or non-fiction. Okay, our next is Our Family Disaster. So this one's telling a story. It seems like it could be real, but it is fake. So if you think it's fiction, raise your hand. If you think it's non-fiction, raise your hand. Okay, if you said fiction, you are correct. It's telling a story. You have to read it beginning, middle, and end. Very nice. Okay, so as I'm cleaning up, I want you to think, do I like fiction or non-fiction more? And we're gonna vote on what types of books we like more. And write fiction. There's there. And non-fiction. Alright, so if you like fiction the most, I want you to raise your hand and we're going to see what our class likes more, fiction or non-fiction. Okay, so when I point to you, you can put your hand down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so 7 students like fiction the most. Okay, so raise your hand if you like non-fiction the most. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so 14 students liked nonfiction the most. So did we like fiction, or do we like to read fiction or nonfiction books more? Yeah, so our class likes to read nonfiction books more. Right, so if I missed your vote today, go ahead and leave a comment and let me know what types of books you like to read more. And thank you for participating in today's lesson. I will see you all later. Goodbye.